Aloha, ladies! Welcome to the Woman Unleashed online retreat. My name is Amber Quile Milana Benici, and I am really excited to be here with you today. Today, we are tuning inwards. We're tapping into self-care the creative way, and which is just perfect for what we're doing during this event. If this is your first session with us, I just want to welcome you and give you full, giant, big permission slip to nurture yourself, to shut down any other distractions you have going on, to close the door if you need to put like a sign for your kids, like do not disturb mommy or whatever you got going on, to make this a sacred space for you. Make this time that you get to just chill out and have some you time. And I can't wait to introduce our guide, but I want to just make sure first that you have the materials list. If you want to have your Woman Unleashed journal so you can take some notes, you can do that. We also have, we're doing a little collaging today. So some paper for that, some magazines, whoa, glue sticks, scissors, and then you'll also notice below is a sheet that Jennifer is going to be using. So if you want to click that so that you can access that as well, you can do that. So I'm also your beverage of choice. Here's what I'm drinking today. I've got from my Wonder Woman mug, I have my tea. I'm going Earl Grey today. Jennifer, what are you doing today?
I have throat coat today, and I love that the little note on it says comfort, which I thought was very fitting for today's session.
Perfect. I love it. Comforting. Mm. So everyone, y'all know how I like to get started. So if you don't, you're about to find out. So I really like to take 3 breaths just to get grounded, get present, to let go of any distractions so you can really be open to receive what you're meant to receive during this time. So with me, if you just close your eyes for a moment, and anything that's been going on earlier today, any thoughts that are pulling you from this moment, let's inhale in, exhale and release. Noticing anything in the future that's pulling you into the future, away from this moment, things or worries or expectations. Let's come back to right here, right now. Inhale in and exhale and release. And our third and final breath, smelling this moment together. And release. When you're ready, you can open your eyes just in time for me to introduce our session guide today. So you already saw Jennifer Lee and her throat coat, but I want to tell you a little bit more about her, who she is, and really what she does in the world. Yeah, so you get to kind of hear from her from a different perspective, right? So Jennifer Lee is the founder of The Artisan Coaching and the author of Building Your Business the Right Brain Way and the bestseller The Right Brain Business Plan, which has helped tens of thousands of entrepreneurs around the world launch their creative businesses. So she spent 10 years climbing the corporate ladder. She did that thing, and she was tired of kind of living her dream on the side, right? And so she took the leap to really pursue her passion full time. She's been featured in Wall Street Journal, Entrepreneur, U.S. News and World Report, Whole Living, Family Circle. The list goes on and on because she's that amazing. But what I'm super excited about today is that we get to have this conversation about not only self-care, but really looking at it from a creative perspective and a way to tune inwards. So Jennifer, welcome. I'm really happy that you're joining us this year.
Hi, Amber. Thanks so much for having me. And I know when we kind of connected and you invited me to be a part of this, you were talking about how with winter solstice, it's really about pausing and going inward. And I thought, well, this is great because I'm really working with that a lot these days. And I have a whole chapter in my most recent book, the Building Your Business the Right Brain Way, called Embracing Ease, because that's so important, as creative entrepreneurs. So many of us, started our business because we have passions, we have ambition, there's so much that we want to do in the world, and then we're go, go, go. And it's sometimes can take its toll if you don't take that pause, just like we're having the opportunity to do here. So I'm really grateful that you are really holding the space for that here with your community, and grateful to have the opportunity to share some of the ways that I do that in my life and my business. And so hopefully we'll give you guys some tools and tips that will help you incorporate more ease and spaciousness into your business and your life. I don't know about you, Amber, but it's, there are times where I do feel like really overwhelmed, or like if I'm on a big project or a big deadline, and it's one of those things where that's actually when self-care is needed the most, when you feel like you don't have time for it.
Yeah. What are you talking about, Jennifer? I have no idea what you're talking about.
And for those of you watching, like, you can raise your hand in the privacy of your own home just to admit, but, are you an overachiever? Are you a perfectionist? Are you a busybody? A lot of those things are probably what have helped you become successful in your work and in your life. And those are great things to have. And learning to balance that with the ease, the spaciousness, learning to take the pause. It kind of seems counterintuitive, especially when there's so much else going on. And if you're caught up in keeping up with everybody else, on social media, you see so-and-so's launching this new program and so-and-so's got this new book. And we start to feel the urge to keep up with the Joneses. So it feels counterintuitive to pause, because you feel like it's the fear of missing out, right? But when you're able to put the pause button on, you're able to connect more deeply with your own inner wisdom. And from there, that's where you can actually make more of those creative, visionary, and strategic decisions. I know it's really hard to know which way to go, what to say yes to when you're feeling really frazzled. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of what I want us to experience here today is learning how to connect within, learning how to take care of yourself, because you are your instrument for your business, right? You are your creative vessel, so you really need to be tending to that for the success and health of your business, and also, for your own success and health and well-being.
Yeah. I like to think of, self-care. When I first started self-care, I didn't have a business. But what I recognized just by me taking time to myself, for me to have art time or whatever that was, like, I became a better mom. I was way less mean, way less bitchy. My husband was like, oh, like, go do your art. Because he could tell, like, after like I did my self-care practice, I was such a nicer person to be around. And without it, like, my fuse with my kids is like this thin, right? And it's the same thing with business, right? Now, when I'm running my business, and if I'm just going from thing to thing to thing, from launch, or from, the to-do list, the never-ending to-do list that is always happening if you have your own business, right? That it's almost like I can't, when you were talking about the decision-making, mm-hmm. that is like, I'm focused more on problems than I am able to see and open up. And so there's the piece about self-care that just like goes, I'm like, oh, there are all these other options instead of like what I was, focused on.
There's so much more available. Yeah. Great. Thank you. So Amber mentioned that there is like a worksheet. I like to call them play sheets. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick screen share so I can kind of talk through so you guys know kind of where I'm at pointing to here. So just give me a moment. Oops. Did I do?
You're good.
Sorry. Okay. So this play sheet is from my second book, Building Your Business the Right Brain Way, and it's all about embracing ease. So I know we're going to spend some time doing a fun project on self-care, but I also wanted to talk about this whole idea of embracing ease and the different things that I found help to create sustained success. So we start with, we've got self-care here, which is really learning how to refuel yourself. What do you need to tend to take care of yourself? Simplicity. So what's the easiest thing that you can do? I know for a lot of folks who are perfectionists or have a lot of great ideas, we like to make things really complex. So, asking yourself, what is it that's the easiest thing to do? And then spaciousness is all about, what can you let go of? How can you create more space? And kind of what you were talking about, Amber, of like, wow, so much more is available when you tend to yourself and you're not so focused on all of the details. So those are the main things I want to focus on today, especially with the exercise on self-care. But also surrounding that to create the sustained success, also having support systems in place, whether that be through people, through coaches or community, or having an assistant. What are the ways that you can ask for help? And then around that, even more is what kind of systems and infrastructure and processes will help you run your business more smoothly. So what are these? I like to call them smooth sailing systems. So we're not going to cover that today, but I just wanted to share that kind of this is how I think of this whole concept of embracing ease, and how all these pieces really fit together to help you have that sustainable success in your business, so that you're not running yourself ragged, trying to go after the next big thing. And all that fighting fires is actually keeping you away from really being strategic with the business and really staying aligned with your big vision, rather than getting drawn to, the next shiny object or whatever fire has presented itself in front of you, the fire of the day. So I want to pause there and just see if you have any questions, or if you, Amber, if this sparks anything for you.
I don't have questions, but it's really interesting. I'm loving the systems. Like I've just, my business has gone to a point where I'm really focused on team and systems right now. So I just love that it's almost like you're being held by like your team and like the system. I'm like, oh, I love that, the visual of that. Almost like just being nurtured in that. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So one of the things that I think is really helpful, like when we talk about this idea of simplicity, what's the easiest thing to do? And my coach, this was several years ago, but she had said, since we're on video, I love sharing this kind of example. She was talking to me about how I was getting really stressed. I was hosting video summits kind of like this, Amber, and I think it might have been when I did my very first one. This was back in 2011. And I was so stressed about all the things that need to happen. As you know, there are a lot of moving parts that go into doing a summit, and I was launching the first book at the same time. So I was like, hyper focused.
That's one thing, like you decided to do two monster giant projects at the same time.
Yeah.
True creative. Way to go.
So believe me, I know what it's like to be overwhelmed and overachiever and all that kind of stuff. And, it got to the point where it was like really stressful and almost paralyzing, because my to-do list was so long and I was worried about so many things. So she knows that I love to do creative work and sketch and draw, and she knows that I love Mr. Sketch markers. So those are the ones that smell, right? So this one's
orange. Oh yeah.
And she also would see me at our, coaching events and stuff with my Staedtler fine tip markers. I know these are quite popular too. And so what she said to me was, Jen, 6-figure business owners use Mr. Sketch. And what she meant by that was, I was in this place of like really coming at my business from the fine tip pen, worrying about every little detail, making sure I'm like checking everything off. And so it's a bit, I don't know if you can see this, but it's like if I were trying to fill in this box with this fine tip pen.
Yeah, it would take a while.
It's going to take a while, and I'm not going to put you through watching me do that. But how many of you find yourself doing that and you actually don't even realize that that's what you're doing? And part of it is then you're stressed that it's taking so much time, taking so much energy, when in fact, if there's actually a different way you can hold it, and what are the broad strokes that would actually get you to the same result? If you take your handy Mr. Sketch it basically can get covered in like 2 strokes. So this might relate to your business in terms of, let's say, I have some clients who are, really eager to get their website up. And so they're like working on, the sitemap for basically like their 5-year vision and all the pages that need to go in it. And they're worried about all the design elements and all the stuff that keeps them stuck here. And actually the site's not getting launched. And this isn't just one client. I've seen it happen so many times. And when it's really like, well, what's the simple thing they can do? What's the Mr. Sketch? And it might just be putting up a simple sales page so that they can make their first offer and get their first client, and then get the ball rolling that way. So I invite you, as you're kind of considering this, between, are you more default a fine tip pen person, and how is that working for you in your business? And what would happen if you allowed yourself to take broader strokes and like don't sweat the small stuff, so that you can focus on the things that are most important, that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And that really was a game changer for me in terms of how I approach things, and creating that simplicity that then creates more ease in my business and my life. And that is a way of taking care of yourself, because those details and spending all that time filling in that box, takes its toll. So Mr. Sketch can be a way of self-care.
Mr. Sketch. I'm totally going to remember that one, Jennifer. I love that. Mr. Sketch. Well, I think about the first website that I launched, and I spent forever on it. Like, I was like every single page, and then the sub pages, and then 10 other, it was like, I was really into it, but it took me forever. And now if I'm switching my website, it's like, all right, here we go, just sending it off, like, let's just get it done, get it moved on.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that actually takes just experience, and it's actually more of a sign of, business maturity, that you're able to just let the details go. I know for a lot of folks just starting out, there's so much pressure to like, I'm supposed to be doing all these things. Like, I just read this article that I'm supposed to be posting 3 posts every week, and SEO, and and they get themselves really in this tizzy. And it's so hard to be running your business from, a more authentic place, a more grounded place, if you're kind of caught up in those details. So Mr. Sketch is your friend.
Yes, to Mr. Sketch.
Yes. And before we head into, doing some of this self-care, I have the fun exercise for you. I know, Amber, you led us through a short meditation, but I think it'll be helpful for us now to just connect in and create some spaciousness here for ourselves. So what I invite...
Can we, before we move into the meditation, your microphone is a little bit clingy. Can you just move it? It's clanging, I think, maybe to the wire.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
Yeah. Can you?
Let's see if I can. Sorry about that.
It's good.
Is that better?
Yeah. Yeah, it's better. I'm not hearing clanging. It was almost like, when you have an earring clanking, it kind of sounded a little bit like that for a little bit.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, my earring is not that long, so it must have been the cord.
I think it was the cord, yeah. Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Back to action.
So in order to invite in some spaciousness, let's create some, we're basically going to press the pause button here for ourselves to really get connected. And what I invite you to do is get settled in your seat and have your feet, grounded. And this practice is actually going to be an eyes open meditation practice. And I know that might be a little different than what you might be used to. And the reason I love doing it this way is it's allows us to be engaged in right here, being present. A lot of times when we think of like, oh, I'm hitting the pause button, going and retreating. But it's really helpful if you invite in ease, you invite in spaciousness and self-care and still being engaged with the world. So as we get settled in our seats, just ground your feet. Notice what that feels like. Ground your hips and your bottom on your seat and feel that really rooting you down. And have your spine straight and tall, like it's a trunk of a tree lifting up. And your feet, your legs, your hips are like roots grounding you down. And then have your head up high, but your chin slightly tucked so that your neck is long. And just notice what it feels like to have your body in alignment in a natural way that's supportive to you. And have your eyes, like I said, slightly open, maybe gazing, a few feet in front of you with a soft focus. And your mouth is closed with your lips slightly parted. And just notice what your body feels like in this moment as we take a pause while still remaining present to each other. Now, bring your attention to your breath. And there's nothing you need to do different. You already know how to breathe, so we make it nice and easy. And to put your attention on your breath, you simply notice what it feels like to have the air coming in through your nostrils, in through your lungs, down through your belly. And what it feels like to have the air exhaling out through your nostrils. And simply focusing on your breath. And from time to time, you might notice that thoughts come through. That's totally normal. That's what our minds do. And what this practice is about is just remembering to bring attention back to the breath. So no judgment that there might be thoughts bubbling up, just a simple noticing that that's happening, letting it go, and then coming back to the breath. And just remember to stay in your body, focus on the breath, and we'll just be here for a few more moments. Okay, and take one last inhale and exhale. And when you're ready, you can come back and join us. So I know we really slowed down there, right? There's a lot of pause, a lot of, spaciousness that we created here. I'd love to, check in with you, Amber, as well. And I'd also just, before we do that, for those of you watching and just experiencing that, write down what came up for you. Was it uncomfortable? Was it like excruciating? Perhaps I know some people aren't used to just sitting and paying attention to breath, and that's totally fine. It's just becoming aware of, oh, that's an edge for me. That's a place, where I could maybe explore a little bit more, because coming from that place, as we do our activities, as we engage with our clients, there's a whole different energy that opens up. So just check in with yourself and notice what happened. So I'm curious, Amber, for you, what's maybe different for you now or what you're noticing?
Yeah, so I felt like this buzzing energy before,
Mm.
and I don't feel that buzzing anymore. I feel more like solid,
Ah,
and I haven't done an open-eyed meditation in a long time. I've been doing my closed-eyed meditation. I was thinking, I haven't done this in a long time. This is, it was just interesting, just noticing the thoughts and just paying attention to the breath and doing that. So yeah,
yeah,
definitely, it's definitely like a.
yes. Which, is so nice to be able to access that, and it doesn't take very long. We just spent really a few minutes doing that together. So, it's a great tool to have in your back pocket. And yeah, the eyes open piece, that was new to me. I started practicing like that last year. So I've been doing that for the past year, but all the times before it's been eyes closed. And that, really helped me get inward and helps me connect. And yet there's something that's really powerful about still being able to be conscious of what's around you while being able to connect with yourself. And I think that is such a great metaphor for running our business. We can't be totally in our own head. We need to be engaging with other people, but we need to be engaging in a way that we're very much connected to ourselves, which then allows us to connect with others.
Yeah, it's just that piece. I love the piece about instead of having to withdraw,
Yeah, exactly.
there's this, can we still be connected and slow and find out? And it's the same thing, even looking at what we're talking about for retreating, right? It's like, yes, we're taking this time to pause and to retreat, but it's like this is like just a perfect way to like integrate retreat into your life, right? So it's like
Yes.
this same energy, but instead of having to like go away,
Right.
but it's like, okay, that's a beautiful practice for anything, not just for business. I'm like, wow, I love it. So thanks
Mm-hmm.
for that reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. So from this place, I hope, some of you are feeling a little bit more grounded, a little bit more in yourself, grounded in yourself, that we can head into our activity around self-care so that you have, a fun visual reminder to help you connect with your self-care practices. And so when I talk about self-care, I know a lot of times people will think about like pampering yourself or kind of doing luxurious things for yourself, which certainly can be nice. Obviously for me, getting a pedicure or getting a massage is certainly part of my view of self-care. And it's also really about what's going to refuel you, what really nourishes you, and about being compassionate with yourself. We can be so hard on ourselves when we're running a business, and maybe you have a complaint email from a client, and you might have gotten like 20 emails that were really glowing and wonderful, but you focus on that one complaint. So having the compassion and really tending to yourself is key. And I think in our society, a lot of times people feel like that's being selfish, right? Taking time out to take care of yourself. And yet it's actually one of the most important things we can do, like you were saying in the beginning, Amber, of when you're able to take time to paint or take care of yourself, that you're, so much nicer to be around with your family.
I'm a totally different person in a really good way.
Yeah. Exactly. Same is true for me. So what happens though, I had mentioned earlier that oftentimes when you're so busy and you're in that crunch time, that's when you need self-care the most, but it's the thing that falls by the wayside. And I know for myself, if I really get caught up in that place, like self-care is the last thing I'm thinking of, or if I'm like, oh, I need to take care of myself, I'm so caught up in that frenzied mode that I can't even, it's the whole decision making is impaired. So I can't even decide what's going to be the best thing to take care of myself. So I have this fun exercise in the second book, and it's called Creating Your Self-Care Catalog. So I will see if I can show mine here. Might be a little bit of glare. But basically what I did was, thumb through magazines and saw like what caught my attention or what are the things that really nurture me. And so some of the things I have on here are, a cup of tea, which I'm doing here with you guys today, my throat coat. Painting, I know you mentioned painting, Amber, so I love, painting and having my dog in the studio with me. Taking a bath, getting a massage, stretching or doing yoga, eating well, green smoothies, being creative, spending time with my husband, reading, journaling, so these are all of my kind of go-to things. But I have it pinned up, on the wall in my office. You can't see where I put it normally, but, I have it up so that I can see it. So what I'd love for us to do is for you guys to start creating your own self-care catalog. And if you don't have magazines or you're not really a collage-y kind of person, really just having a simple list of the activities that really nourish you will be helpful. So if you want to take the time to just start creating a list, that's cool too. And if you do that, you can also cut them into slips of paper and like stick them into a jar and then like pull one at random whenever you need a self-care pick-me-up, and that's always fun. So I have some magazines here with me too. So we're going to do a little bit of like what I like to call flip and clip. So you can just flip through your magazines and just notice like what speaks to you, what draws your attention and really helps you feel grounded or inspired or happy or excited. And it doesn't need to make sense. I'll just spend a few moments doing this. But what's nice here is this is one of those things that oftentimes, oh, I don't have time to do that. Don't have time to be artsy and craftsy. And yet, when we take the time to do it, it then creates, a nice structure, a nice visual touchstone to remind us. So it's good that we're using part of this pause to do that. Because when was the last time you allowed yourself to do something like this?
What I love about this, Jennifer, too, is that, I've done, things before where I'm like, oh yeah, I should, take care of myself, and I have these ideas in my head. But I love the idea of having a visual, something visual, because sometimes what happens, especially when I'm in a stress place, that it's like I'm stuck in that one side of my brain, right? Where it's like I'm in the loop of just getting stuff done. And image accesses so much more than that thinking part of the brain. So I love the idea of having the image to be like, oh yeah.
Absolutely. And having the image too, it helps me visually, like I look at it and then it's like, it just helps me center myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just pulling things, it's hard to see, but I've got like little labyrinth here. I'm trying to block the light there. A labyrinth.
See, now I've got magazine envy. I'm like, oh, I like that picture. That's a good one.
Well, it helps that the magazine I'm looking through is called Mindful. So
You got a good one.
yep.
Mm-hmm. I know whenever I teach collaging classes, I'm always like, be mindful that you don't start reading the articles.
I know. I know. Yeah, so just don't spend a whole lot of time, like just flip through and see what catches your eye. Even if it's just like, I don't even know why, but this is interesting to me. It may not belong on your self-care catalog. It may be, you know, part of your vision board for your life or your business. You can go ahead and just clip it anyway. Could even be things like, you know, you have your go-tos, the things you really like, but there might be something that you haven't tried yet that you might be curious about. So you can include those things too.
Mm-hmm. I know I found this one. It says, I don't know if you can see it, it's do not disturb sign. I'm like, yes.
Yes, I want that on mine.
And then I have some other ones too, but then I also just saw, it was just a bunch of trees in the forest. I'm like, just looking at that makes me feel so like, oh, nature, I love you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll just spend a couple more minutes flipping through. You don't need to feel like you need to find the perfect image or finish it all today. This is really just to kind of kickstart this process for you. It can be a work in progress. The last thing we want to do is make this stressful because that is counterproductive to what the self-care catalog is about.
That's so funny. It reminds me because, you know, a lot of online events, you know, they say like you have to watch them in like 48 hours and then come down, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone like, that's totally counter what I'm doing. Like we're doing a retreat. You can't be like,
yeah,
let's watch the retreat within 48 hours or you don't get it.
Yeah.
It's the same energy. Mm.
So yeah, go ahead and just find your last image here, and what I'd invite you to do next is just start with your piece of paper, gluing things down. And it doesn't need to look perfect. A lot of times what I see happen, so we're going to bring in some of the learnings from a little bit earlier. When I do collage workshops too, Amber, like one of the things I see is people just spend all the time collecting images because they want the perfect image, and then they don't give themselves time to like glue them down. So it's the whole idea of, you know, what's the easiest thing? Just pick it and put it down. Don't think about it too much. So how can you also practice simplicity and spaciousness as we do our self-care catalog? Because they all are related.
Look at this fun one I found.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm just cutting out a few images here. And paper. So again, this is a great practice in following your intuition, letting go of perfection, and just making it easy and fun. I'm almost done cutting out, and I'm going to start gluing, and then I can check in.
I'm coming along too.
Cool.
I have scissors, but I sometimes just like to shred things, you know?
Oh yeah, you don't even need scissors. That's really making it easy.
Let's simplify. That was one of your circles. Simplify.
Absolutely, you simplified. What can you let go of? Scissors.
I don't have the right scissors. I can't do it at all. No. I love that you're making us rush a bit. That's so great. And here's why. I mean, there's the piece about that you were talking about with the just getting stuff down.
Yeah.
And there's something about the perfectionist, like, you know, when I'm doing, I lead painting workshops, right? And sometimes during that, it's like the end, and they're, you know, they're still wanting to do, they're 10 steps back. I'm like, no, we're closing down. You just got
right.
And in those moments is when it just starts to really happen for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, let's go. So it's almost like it's forced, but like in a good, it's a good thing.
Yeah. It's more about just not worrying about. We're also doing a Mr. Sketch right now. Broad brushstrokes and not worrying about the details. All right. Well, I think I've got all mine down. How you doing over there?
I'm good. You know what? I got trapped into the thing of like, do the layout before I glue it.
Ah.
So that's another thing that I could have just missed entirely and just gone for it.
Yeah.
So.
I usually do that too, and I didn't, which is probably why I'm done.
Like, boom. We are wrapped up. I'm like, what? But I'm doing good.
Good.
I love some of these images that came out. I love the magazine piece instead of like thank you for the idea for a listing for those that didn't want to do magazines. But there's something about the magazine that's pulling out stuff that I wouldn't think about, right?
Totally.
You know, it's like I would think about bubble baths and braiding and tea. There's some of these, but some of them, like I had this like Disneyland hat thing pop up, and I just took my kids to Disneyland for the first time this last year, and it was seriously one of the best things I ever did in my whole entire life. I'm like, that was like the most amazing thing. So even just thinking about that, I'm like, oh, that makes me feel so happy. Just even like the memory of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes self-care is like allowing yourself to have fun and be a kid again, right?
We love Disneyland.
That's so funny because that's like, for me, the antithesis of self-care. Like, that would be like my worst nightmare.
Well, see, and that's why it's good that everyone has their own thing of what they...
Exactly.
Exactamundo. Right. Yeah, I know there were a lot of people. I do have to say there is that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I got it all.
Cool.
Wow. Zoom. She's a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Voila. So yeah, that was awesome. I thought of my kids, like snuggling my kids, and I wouldn't have thought of them for self-care because sometimes I just feel like an extra thing on my list, honestly, as a mom, like don't touch me, right?
Right.
But sometimes like with my youngest especially, he'll just snuggle me and it's like, oh, okay, that feels really nourishing to me.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah. What's on yours? Let me see.
Yeah, I might need to block my light here.
Oh yeah.
A little better. So I've got that labyrinth on there, like going for a walk and meditative walking. I don't have a cat, but I have a dog. But I love, it's the same thing for you of like snuggling. I love cuddling with my dog. And yeah, I have like a rose here, which I normally wouldn't have probably chosen, but it's that whole idea of stop and smell the roses and savor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, meditation. And there was something that said taking a pause, which I thought, well, yeah.
That's perfect.
That's what we're talking about. So that's what came up for me.
Yay. So ladies, we would love to see your collages or your list of things that you're doing. So go ahead and post in the Facebook group, take a picture, post in the Facebook group so we can see your collages and you can share them with us. And we'd also love to hear, during the meditation that we did, like if you just noticed some things, some ahas came up for you, please share, about like what was that process for you? What came up when you did that? So yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. This has been fun. She's going to go, I'm going to post her right over here in my room. So she'll be,
oh, good.
See. Thank you. It's been like a little bit of everything. It was like, I thought that it was going to be one thing, but we're like, oh no, we're talking over here and then we're like meditating and then we're doing collage. I'm like, that's the best kind. It's like all sorts of juicy goodness. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I know you have something for our audience and especially kind of like we've been talking about right brain and we've been talking, about business, right? And so I know you have something special for our peeps. Can you share about it?
Yeah, I've put together a mini course that's 7 days. It includes a lot of the favorite right brain business activities and tools from both of my books. So it has play sheets, illustrated play sheets, just like the one that you've seen here with Embracing Ease. So you can there's also a meditation too for your big vision. So there's a lot of juicy stuff in it. It's really taking this creative approach to running your business. So check it out.
Yay! So the link is right here below. So go ahead and click on the link. And I just love the idea of being in your business in a way that's not only creative, but Jennifer, that you're also having people tap into the pause, that you're having people be in a creative space instead of just like the get things done space, which is what a lot of I'm seeing people teach right now. And that burnout kind of energy. And so I love that you're taking a really different approach. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, beauties. Well, we will see you in the Facebook group. Again, feel free to share. And until our next session. So sending much, much, much aloha. Bye now.